Okay, there you go. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Just wanted to make sure that my sound and stuff was good. And I'll be checking myself over here. I remember I did a whole live stream and there was no sound the entire time. Okay, well, so today, of course, I gotta talk about it. This whole shaming Barack Obama. I try to keep my nose out of people's marriages. Oh, almost got it. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Let me make sure my sound is good. All right, so I'll be checking that battery. Because that's a trip. Um, it keeps going out, and I'm very nervous, so it's super appropriate. But basically, what I was saying was, I try to respect the office. By the way, this is water. And my daughter, she's up from her nap. She's up early, so I'm gonna be kind of multitasking it as I always do. And let me make sure I'm still getting used to this thing. Okay, let me open this window for you, mamas. Ooh, no, 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 ma'am. Get her set up. 1 second, y'all. Ooh, I got the hot mic on there. Hot mess. Okay, cool. Well, change the lighting. I open the window for her because she likes to look out the window, all that good stuff. Let's see. This thing is going to be a little interesting. Technical difficulties. Let me see how to put this. Okay, cool. That way I can kind of monitor the sound, right? So, anyway, this conversation, I dread it. I really didn't want to have this conversation, to be honest. Because, again, I try to respect people's privacy. And I most certainly, let me have this outside so I can look at it. I most certainly try to respect people's marriages. Um, my channel is really marriage based. I really respect marriages more than anything. Um, Still getting the hang of this thing. So basically, it'll be such a terrible thing if this thing flops because I really I don't want to talk about this no more, but Michelle, she's got a podcast, so I have a feeling that I'm gonna be talking about this quite a bit. Because I really have a problem with representation of Black women in the media. Let's see, can I do that? The light's glaring on there. Can I see that? I really have a problem with it. I do not like the fact that Black women are promoted in the mainstream media as difficult. Black women are like this microphone. Let's do it like this. Let's try this. I'm gonna do this. They have a lot of good qualities. They look cool. Uh, they're really spunky, but at the same time, you can't get along with them, and that really upsets me because I used to think all the time that the beauty of being a Black woman was, being desirable as a woman. When it comes to, oh, there you go. Here's a way to go about it. I think I might have found my thing. The thing that really frustrates me is the narrative of like the angry Black woman or the forever dissatisfied Black woman. Oh, look at me figuring it out as I go. Let me do it like this. Aha! I can even see the light, y'all. I might just make this my thing. This is easier than what I've been doing. But anyway, now I appreciate you guys working with me through these technical difficulties. There we go. I just figured that out on the fly. So anyway, without further ado, let me make sure that this perfect setup is perfect. Yo, I look like I'm about to do a interview on Soft White Underbelly. The way that he does his lighting, I might just do a reaction to him too. But anyhow, I want to start out with how um, how she just kind of drags Barack Michelle. She drags him. I want to start out with this clip. I think this is a great way to set the tone. Mama, no, mama, no. 1 second, y'all. Mama, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a terrible thing to do. No, ma'am. Yeah. She talking about something. Yeah. So, sorry, y'all, about that. Let me do this real quick. You mean today that I want to do a presentation on something that makes me uncomfortable? Everything is gonna go wrong. Okay, so here. I want to start out because this right here sets the tone. By the way, I don't know if my mic was working, but my daughter's in the background. She's having such a good time. And so we just kind of, building it while we fly it on here, okay? All right, so let me start out with this, just kind of set the tone of where I'm going here. There we go.
I have to say, Brian, if I'm a single girl out there and I find out that Brian Chesky is single and I can like stay in his
There
house,
she
have you
goes.
ever?
Goes
There you
right,
go.
right
Have
to
you
the relation.
ever?
But Brian, you don't have to be feel
No,
pressured.
but
in.
we've never talked about
he
this.
just
Have you-
got here.
Have you
Her
ever?
and her husband have tried to set me up before, so
Yeah.
So yeah, this really disturbs me. It disturbed me when I first learned about it. It disturbs me right now as I watch it. It's very cringeworthy. Hitting on this guy like, oh, if I was single, like she's not just married to any old body, and I'm gonna get into that too. It's like if you can't even get the respect being married to the president of the United States of America, and most notably, like the first Black president of the United States of America, as he's dubbed as. Um, what what is it? What you know what I mean? Like to And I never looked this guy up. I never looked up what was significant about him. I'm pretty sure he's a big deal. But regardless of who you are, just the fact that she's somebody's wife should be enough to be like, yo, I'm not gonna, talk crazy, embarrass my husband, be disrespectful, because people don't understand, like, being married, that's a life commitment. Like, that's your whole life, right? So every time I watch this, I cringe. And I tried to follow the channel, but it's so disturbing to me. I expect for rappers, singers, pop artists, actresses, I expect for these type of folks to do this. But she's not she's not at all reading her husband. And so I understand this statistic when they say that, black women are least desirable and things like that. As much as I hate to, talk about like statistical data and like beat a dead horse, things like that, she is showing this so well. You know, every podcast she is showing this. And so that's kind of how I wanted to set the tone with that first clip. And I tried to refrain from talking about this. I really tried to restrain myself. I made a video, and in my opinion, that video was kind of less than stellar. But I just felt like, hopefully this will get it out of my system. But it just keeps getting worse. The news is on Michelle's bumper big time. And frankly, that's a good transition to talk about the news where they talked about Jimmy Carter's funeral. This frustrating for me because this isn't just anybody who passed away, right? This is another former president. I think he made history for being the oldest president, as well as he had the longest marriage, right? Now, we can all say whatever we want about Barack and, how great he is, but it's something about having somebody on his arm who does not support him. And then many times shames him. So then this, a lot of times, even myself, like I would try to, defend my demographic and be like, people are people, but it's like this isn't just any old funeral, right? This you got to be there because people are going to be talking about it. It's high visibility, right? Um, and again, this guy he is an example of a long-standing marriage of all things. So I just wanted to play this clip as well, just to kind of give a little more nuance of what I'm talking about.
Age of 100, President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. Former president died on December 29th at the age of 100. President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, President-elect Donald Trump and Melania Trump, as well as 3 other living presidents and their spouses, gathered to pay respects at his January 9th memorial service. Although former presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush were joined by their spouses Hillary Clinton and Laura Bush, Barack Obama attended the service solo.
Okay, see, this is the photo. And then especially like for avid Barack Obama supporters, I feel like this photo here speaks volumes. This this idea of like, we always talk about, black love and all this other stuff. This is, and you know what, I'm gonna get on to it then. I'm gonna say it. When black women see black men, stop mama, don't do that. See black men dating out, marrying out. Shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson. His saying is, black queens forever, snow bunnies never, whatever. This is the image that pops into my head. Mama, coming from over there, don't mess with that. Don't mess with that. So it's really frustrating when Black women talk about what kind of men they want. Like Barack Obama ain't just anybody, right? And for this man to have so much that he's achieved in life, being the president of the United States is nothing to be taken lightly, right? And he's just standing there amongst the crowd by himself, you know. And so this is the type of stuff that kind of frustrates me because I look at, her reaction to this and she's so insensitive in talking about everything as if, hey, this is my choice and I'm gonna bring her up in a little bit so that you can, but it just goes to show that even if you're in the White House, like even if you're the president of the United States of America, what is this Rubik's Cube of getting respect from your wife? Especially for Michelle Obama. You can say what you want about Trump, you can say what you want about Bill, you can say what you want about George. But at the end of the day, they have wives who stand by their sides, regardless of what they have going on. Barack, I know no marriage is perfect. I know nobody is perfect. But I'm not a man, so I don't understand the level of embarrassment. But I can only imagine, let's flip it. Let's say if Barack decided to let Michelle go out by herself, be unattended, not be a plus one, everybody would be freaking out about that. Like he would be the villain, right? So when she responded to this, I was thinking she would kind of go like, well, I shouldn't have done that, or that was very disrespectful. But I don't have the clip on it, but here we go. Basically, the gist of what she was saying was this was her idea to make her own decision. In fact, yes, I do have a clip. Let me pull this back up. Because that was the thing, was that it was like when it came to her attention, like, hey, you didn't show up. Your husband was there by himself. It's like she gave the media her whole butt to kiss. You give the media your butt to kiss. But she continued. She continued as if, whatever. Like I hate to say this, but it's kind of like that Cartman, that whatever I do what I want. She didn't have any apologies for that at all. So let's see. I don't think they have the clip. Okay, cool. There was a lot of speculation about this. And I was just hoping, she got to be sick or something. But here we go. I think later on in the clip, it says this because I could have sworn I had this one. I got another one, but this justice, especially while my daughter is behaving.
Salini reports amid the service about Michelle, quote, I'm told by her advisors she had scheduling conflicts. She's still in Hawaii, despite not attending.
Okay. So there we go. She's still in Hawaii. Man, I don't care if I'm in a foreign country. If my husband is, doing something like this, he's the president of the United States of America, for crying out loud. Swim from heaven if you need to, you know. And that's what makes this whole thing so shady even more, because now she's really off of this podcast, and it's like every other week she's, maybe, I don't know if she's trying to stay relevant or what have you. But yeah, so she just decided again not to show up for the inauguration, right? So everybody loves to talk about, like I said, this idea of Black love. Everybody loves to champion Barack Obama as our first Black president. Dare I say, some people even refer to him to be some type of king with his African queen or whatever. But when you look at this situation, there is nothing royal about this, right? In fact, it's quite embarrassing. So here we go. I'm gonna just press play on this whole thing so you guys can kind of see what Barack has had to go through. And let me pause this real quick. 1 second. My son turned on the TV in the other room.
And so, and if you drive around DC, as I just did on my way here, you don't see a lot of people in DC. It might be 10, 20,000 folks here, but it's nowhere near the hundreds of thousands. And it's not also quite as cold as people projected. It's 28 degrees in my car on the way here. So, so I think it's kind of interesting.
Just want to note here, you see the Clintons walking in, taking their seats. As we speak, again, greeting everyone as they walk into the room. I did want to just touch on this real quickly. You know, President Biden, former President Biden, now in his farewell address to the nation, warned that American democracy was sliding into an oligarchy of tech billionaires. And, you know, when you let that sink in and then you see who is here in the crowd, do either of you want to pick up on that or expand on that?
Well, we have been becoming an oligarchy and a plutocracy. And one of the words that was used in the 19th century that's been revived now is the word kakistocracy. That means a government by the worst people.
Right.
And if you look at Linda McMahon in charge of the Department of Education, you could go through the streets and try to find somebody less competent, and you might not be able to. I mean, if she's there to destroy the Department of Education, she's the right person for that, but certainly not to help educate our young people. And so,
okay, so this man hinted at this idea of a government ran by the worst people. One way you could tell the foundations of the government is by the foundations of your leadership. If your leadership is out of order, then that says a lot about where your country or whoever is being led to, right? So now I got my son and my daughter, so y'all, I'm juggling. So anyhow, when you look at this picture, you got the Clintons, you got the Bushes, and I love how as they're talking about this, like it's like they're dancing around the subject. Like they're like, yo, we do not want to talk about this at all. Like it's just so embarrassing that something like an inauguration can have the attention lost on it because we got to talk about, well, we're trying not to talk about the elephant in the room, which is your wife not being there, right? Which is so unfair to Barack, right? For whatever reason, like, you know, they're adults. They should be able to fix this situation. My daughter, she's like dancing around, so you might see her foot now and then. But yeah.
it's certainly a problem. And these tech billionaires, in some ways, this reminds me of Andrew Johnson's administration.
Sure.
Because Andrew Johnson was a Southern Democrat from a working class background who hated the Confederate leaders and the rich plantation owners. And he made them come to Washington and grovel before him if they wanted to get their rights back. And in some ways, these guys are going down there and groveling toward Trump.
Well, you think, you know, when you think of yesterday's rally, so we saw.
Now you see this presentation here. You know, this is supposed to be a day where everybody is getting together and they're, you know, enjoying the moment of, you know, Donald Trump becoming president, this transition of power, right? And this man, he's got to walk in by himself. Like, this is not, you know, when you talk about the power couple, the strong black woman or black love, it seems like a test of how strong a black man can be while he's married to a black woman. Just in the public eye, it's always about her over here, and then he needs to be up here. For him to walk through here the way that he's walking through here. Now, this is the second time that he's had to walk in by himself. And thankfully, they put him last.
Here comes Barack Obama entering into the rotunda again, notably absent his wife Michelle Obama, but he takes his place there with the former presidents and first ladies. I thought back to the rally yesterday, and President-elect J.D. Vance was in the arena. I thought back to the rally yesterday, and President-elect.
Let's just run this back real quick. This awkward shuffle.
Notably absent his wife Michelle Obama, but he takes his place there with the.
Who hurt you?
Former presidents and first ladies.
Who hurt you? Yo, mama. His mama ain't black. Yo, his mama ain't black. You know what? I about to crack the code, y'all. I'm sitting here taking care of my kids and doing this at the same time. I think I might have cracked the code, y'all. Yo, mama black. No, his mama white. What? Okay, I don't mean to be immature, but let's do this. Let's do this. What if he's up there by himself because his mama ain't black? You know what? Maybe I really did crack the code, because are you telling me if his mama was black, she'd be a part of the sister code? Like, when I tell you about the sister code, it's so deep that death can't even break it. You know? Like, yeah, his mom might be deceased, but she wasn't no sister. I don't know. Now I got don't get me started. Don't get me started coming up with theories and things. But yeah, that's just, another embarrassing moment. And I'm gonna tell y'all, you guys, I do this, speaking of sister code, I do this with all of the hurt in my heart. I didn't want to do this. But I felt like it had to be done, because I am so tired of, it's one thing if you're a rapper or you're a singer and you're doing this, but it's a whole other ball game when you're talking about somebody who's the head of state, somebody who's the president of the United States of America, the leader of the free world, right? This guy has to deal with like inappropriate drama. The type of drama that you would think would come from, like, let's just go in there and say it, like a baby mama or a hood rat. He got hood rat issues. He got hood rat issues just like any other man that's looking to marry the average rank and file Black woman. It's always about her. And when you ask her, why didn't she show up? This is the posture that this is the attitude. This is like somebody, like if I were her, I would feel sad. Like this, me personally, I would feel sad. I would feel ashamed. I would feel like I treated my husband unfairly that day. I would feel like I need to fix something. I need to do something. This woman was unapologetic, had her chest out. She got her podcast. She gonna say it with her whole chest. This is her explanation on, and this coming straight from her channel, y'all. Her podcast on why she wasn't there.
My decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize.
Sorry, she said, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let it play through. My decision. Could you imagine if a husband did something that the wife didn't like and went, my decision? My decision. When you're married, you have, of course, you have your spouse and then you have yourself. Individualism it's a challenge, the balance of individualism. But when you couple that with public service, particularly being with the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, that's a whole other conversation. Nothing about this marriage has room for words like "my" in it when you're married to a former president.
My decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. And it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was right, or that was perceived as right, but do the thing that was right for me.
Michelle Obama's mysterious absence from President Trump's inauguration explained by the woman herself on her IMO podcast.
I had to basically trick myself out of it. People couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had.
Yep. So it's I, me, my, how I feel. Men, if men ever took this posture ever, it would be the end of the world for them. I decided that I was going to do what I wanted to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. It's about me all the time. You need to get with my program. And that's the thing about marriage. Here's a little secret. For traditional marriages, that woman takes that man's name. That's number one. That already gives you an indication. Number two, when you take that man's name, when he is the head of your house, when he takes care of you, when he takes on the roles and responsibility of being the president of the United States of America, you're on the ride with that. You're a part of that program. Marriage is a very selfless thing. Even as I'm showing you guys right now with these two kids, it's a very selfless thing. It is, I always say, one of my favorite sayings is, marriage is a ministry. Marriage is a divine thing. It is not an earthly thing. It's not a cool thing. It's not a trendy thing. And it certainly, to be honest, oftentimes it has nothing to do with the two people who took the vow. Marriage is about something bigger than both people. So when she took that, there was a time when I was super duper proud to see this picture. I was so proud to see them together. A lot of people talk about how they look good and all this different stuff. And now I see them differently. Like I said, I see a upscale Will and Jada. That's what I see now. I see an example of what not to be. I pray that my daughter doesn't drag her husband through something like this. This is not fair. As a Black woman, I have to say, this is not a representation of what I would like to see in someone who looks like me. Now, I can't really speak for the community because the culture is culturing with the Black community, as everybody knows. But as far as me as an individual, it's very shameful to see the only Black wife carry on like this. And it's like, if anybody throws in our face that we are the least desirable to marry, and they go down a laundry list of names, Michelle Obama is one of those names. And for everyday Black women like myself, for everyday married Black women, it's like we have to constantly deal with the pressure of why every time our reflection is shown in the public eye, it's always like a shaming ritual. It's always an embarrassment, right? So here's what made me do this live. This is what made me have to come up here, because this right here, this took the.
And having friendships that go awry.
By the way, she's describing how a woman should properly raise a son, a functional son. And it's almost like she's kind of hinting at Barack.
And learning how to correct that. She's got to coach and advise. She can't live his life for him. And if she's thinking all along, I'm creating an adult a full-blown adult in the world that's going to drive a car and have other kids and work a job and be somebody's neighbor.
And he's going to be a man.
And he's going to be a man in this world.
He's
I'm
not
just
your little
like,
boy
please,
out in the
mothers,
world.
please make
Yes.
these men ready. Get them ready for hurt and
Yeah.
disappointment, and make them resilient.
Yeah, get them ready for hurt and disappointment. You know, like what you inflict on Barack.
And you can't do that if you're monitoring his friends and, trying to interfere and make life easy for him at a young age, because he won't be ready for what is inevitably out there. I don't care what race he is. He's going to be a man in the world, and there will be hardships and disappointments, and he's got to be ready. I know I do that with my girls. And people say mothers raise their girls and love their sons. And I'd say, love your son, but raise him too. Raise him to be as strong as he's going to have to be. Teach him about how to deal with a traffic stop, but also teach him how to communicate in a marriage and be a listening father, and to, be a compassionate neighbor, and to be a voting citizen, somebody who's going to pay attention and care about something outside of himself, and if you're thinking about that human, then all these choices become a little more clear. It's about what he needs as a grown man in the world. That would be.
You should have threw a boy in the mix.
I would.
Okay, so here we go. You should have threw a boy in the mix. It's like, and I cut this off because she went on and on quite a bit on how to raise a boy properly, how to make sure that he's raised to be the type of man and all the ideals of a man. Almost, like I said, to kind of shade Barack a little bit. Stop, boo-boo, don't mess with that. It's like she was kind of hinting and implying, be something better than Barack, right? So even though she didn't come out and say those words, it's how it felt, the vibe. This is the thing that got me. It's one thing if you have a bad marriage. It's another thing if you're unhappy with your marriage and you're not willing to make it work. But it's a whole different ball game if you're talking about children. And this is very scary. This idea that, yeah, I could speak on, I'm glad that I didn't have a son because of what kind of man he is, right? So let me just go ahead and play her response to that.
But I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
It was like baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
No, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
Yes, I got plenty. Did you have enough?
No,
too much. I think we went.
No.
Sorry if we went on a whole roller coaster.
Man.
This was really this what I will, and we don't know if Jessica's married or not.
It's true.
So he would have been another Barack. Okay, what's the point of marrying this man if you're not willing to have another Barack? That's the question that I have. What's the point of being with this man? Oh, he would have been another Barack. Well, what do you think sons and daughters come from? They come from their father. So this idea of, oh, I would have felt for him, it also shines a light on, I'm gonna talk about like the state of Black boys and young Black men. A lot of people talk about how Black men have a low literacy rate. They talk about how Black men have a high incarceration rate, things like that. When you got a mother that's like, oh, you like your daddy, you just like your daddy, like shame you, put you down because you're like the man who made you. I'm glad Barack didn't have a son at this point, to be honest, because I could only imagine how miserable that boy would be knowing how his mother is. Here in the Black community, you don't never want to criticize your mama. You don't never want to talk bad about your mom. That's the last thing. Your mama can be the worst of the worst. And that's me putting it softly because I know the culture and I don't want nobody to come after me. But I've seen some really, really awful mothers in the Black community, and you can't say nothing bad about them. You can never talk negatively about them, right? But we're so quick to drag the fathers. The type of legacy Barack could have left behind was being the first Black president. Come out of that bubble. Was, he stood up for LGBTQ rights. That's the main thing. But now what overshadows that more than anything is that his wife don't want him and his daughters don't want his name. Well, at least his oldest one, right? And now to add more fuel to the fire, his wife didn't even want to have a little him. I don't know how that would make a man feel to know that your wife, that you are always speaking positively about, never wanted, well, I won't say never wanted, but just said publicly, I'm so glad I didn't have a son with him. It'll be a little him. And so this is something else that I wanted to share before I go. And I'm gonna wrap up a little bit because I gotta cook supper, but I just had to say this, and let me do this real quick. And this is my situation here. I got a lot going on this screen, and my daughter is wilding out. So when you talk about those other presidents and their wives and the legacies that they've left behind, this is the type of stuff when we talk about George Bush, for example. This is the type of stuff that you see. Barack got the podcasting wife, right? These men wives, I'm gonna start with George Bush. These men's wives stand 10 toes down with them every step of the way. All right?
We got an issue in America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country.
And in his brief remarks, the president drew a roar from the crowd after putting his foot in his mouth.
You helped our nation celebrate its bicentennial in 1976.
The president's humor came to the rescue.
She gave me a look that only a mother could give a child. Thank you, Holiness. Awesome, please. Is that Sam Donaldson? Forget it, you're a has-been. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. I think they misestimated the will and determination of the commander-in-chief, too. A year ago, my approval rating was in the 30s. My nominee for the Supreme Court had just withdrawn, and my vice president had shot someone.
Here's a moment to see his wife.
I said to him the other day, George, if you really want to end tyranny in the world, you're going to have to stay up later. Here's our typical evening. 9 o'clock. Mr. Excitement here, sound asleep. And I'm watching Desperate Housewives.
Have they seen him dance?
Well,
Because they might want to rethink.
Oh, that's not good. Maybe he'll play with the band.
He cracks me up when he's dancing, and he's done it so many times in public.
So yeah, no matter how square this guy is, no matter how out of place he is, no matter how inappropriate he is, at the end of the day, he ain't got to worry about his wife getting on the internet, shaming him, having a White House dinner, not showing up, having a White House event, an international event where people all over the world are going to be looking at him, and he's going to be by himself. Like, truly, what is black worth really, black love really worth at this point? Like, what this whole, what mainstream model couple do we have to look for? Because it's, for me, it's embarrassing. I can't say that enough. For me, it's embarrassing. And to go as far as to be like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't have a son by him. I'm sorry, that right there, that was that was enough. That really frustrated me. And let's say this. Another part of this presentation I want to put on here is this as well. We all know what Hillary has been through. This woman, yeah, she ran for president and she lost twice. Okay, cool. But at the end of the day, Bill, I can't see Bill at an event by himself. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, talk about Bush being a moron, but at least he knew how to pick a wife. He knew how to be with a woman that's not always trying to outshine him, not trying to overshadow him, not trying to downplay him. So in this clip, I also learned, Black community love Bill Clinton. And after watching the clip, the first part, I just noticed now this shirt is like bigger. Used to be a little fitted, losing a little bit of weight. The little workouts was working out. But with Bill Clinton, the Black community adored him. And I saw that there are two major things that I realized about Bill Clinton. He championed single parenthood. It's a lot of single motherhood in the Black community. And also he locked up all the Black men. Let's just be real. He just locking them up left and right. So even in this speech, talking about Monica Lewinsky, right? He spent a lot of time pandering to single parents and funding after school programs and donations and all this. But I'm gonna just press play on his most famous line.
We are determined to help Americans succeed in the workplace, to raise well-educated, healthy kids, and to help Americans succeed at the toughest job of all, that of being a parent. And the Mott Foundation has gone a long way toward helping us. I thank them. Now, I have to go back to work on my State of the Union speech, and I worked on it till pretty late last night. But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
So this is the legacy. This is one of the number one things. In fact, if you look at the most played section on here, this man is known for, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, right? He can walk anywhere with his wife. He ain't got to worry about Hillary mudslinging him at all. And everybody knows Bill Clinton was a player. Everybody knows that. Maybe Barack just ain't got no game. I cracked this first part where I was like, oh, your mama black. Okay, maybe, Barack messed up because his mama ain't black. Maybe Barack messed up because he's not smooth like Bill. I don't know what George Bush got. I mean, I know he can play some golf now. He can sit here and talk about weapons of mass destruction and how women's doctors can't, GYN can't, love on women the way that they want to, and how he's gonna fix the economy. But I don't know what it's gonna take. It's just bad. You know what? I think it's only getting worse. In fact, I do not believe that this will be my last live stream complaining about Michelle Obama. I don't think this is gonna be my last live stream. I think she's gonna keep doing stuff. I think she's gonna keep saying stuff. I think she's gonna keep embarrassing Barack. One second, y'all. I think she's gonna keep embarrassing him. She does not respect that man at all. So I like to leave on a light note. It's about 5 o'clock Eastern time over here. Now I need to get started on dinner. Everything is prepped. So that's a plus. My kids, they're getting a little shaky in the background. So it's about time for me to check on them. But I just wanted to leave you guys with my favorite Bushism. George Bush is hilarious. If anybody doesn't think that Barack is getting dragged by Michelle, anybody who try to gaslight me, or you for that matter, here's a video that you can play in response to that.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
You know, I have to say, Brian, if I'm a single girl out there and I find out that Brian,
let me tell you something. That video get under my skin so much. Oh my gosh, I even put praying hands up every time. I can't believe what she's doing to Barack. I can't believe it. Like, I'm telling you right now, if you flip the gender, it couldn't have been a more appropriate. I tried to end this on a high note, but ain't no way to end it on a high note, y'all. Barack is getting dragged. He's the Will Smith of politics, and we just gonna have to deal with it. And don't be surprised if you turn around and hear another thing that Michelle did. So I'm gonna just run it down real quick. She didn't show up to Jimmy Carter's funeral, left him by himself. He was flying solo. She didn't show up to the inauguration. She started a podcast. And on that podcast, she's flirting with another man. I didn't even take the time to even try to figure out who that guy was. It's not important to me. All that matters is I get appalled when I see a wife flirt with a husband. Maybe I'm uppity, maybe I'm posh, but I don't like this. You know what I mean? It frustrates me. But it's a whole other deal if you're talking about, how to put it, I don't know. Does anybody else feel like it's crazy that a president of the United States of America, he can't even have his house in order? And that's all I wanted to say for this live. As y'all can hear, my kids are in the background. Gotta attend to them. I appreciate everybody who filed in and everything. I hope this is my last live talking about this, but I don't think it's going to be. So till next time, I catch y'all on the next live. And hopefully Michelle doesn't keep dragging Barack.